Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Larissa and I crochet plushies. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you for being here. This week's video is going to be a market breakdown for the market that my last two videos have been about. I was requested to do this, so I thought, why not hop on and quickly give you guys a rundown of everything before I upload my next non-market related video, which will be coming in the middle of the week. So this is like a bonus video of sorts. So basically, I will be giving you guys a detailed rundown of what sold, what didn't sell, price ranges of things that tended to do better, and try and talk a little bit more about the ins and outs of being a market vendor and how kind of unpredictable these things can be as well. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. As I said before, I made $1,837.50. This is all in Australian dollars, and my vendor setup cost was $125. So all in all, the net profit was about 1,700 something. I've posted it somewhere on my TikTok, but if you just subtract the $125 off of the 1,837.50 cents, and this is not including like materials and like, it's just the net revenue, it's not the profit. So because I don't account for all of the yarn and all the little materials and stuff, like I just don't really keep up with it because this isn't like my main source of income, so it's not as serious for me. And I sold 70 units total, so I will break that down. Basically, I had my plushies. Most of the stuff that I sold were plushies. I had keychains. I also had stickers. These stickers right here in this corner that I designed myself, and I just bring them to every market just because they're a nice little touch. And they do sell, but you know, it's just for fun. And then I also brought some Scarly Teddy Bakery yarn, but because the table was small, I didn't really have space to actually put the yarn on the table, so I had a little swatch card, but that was also kind of tucked away, and obviously it's not a craft market, so I didn't sell too much of that. But yeah, the vast majority of what I sold was plushies. So now I will break down how much I sold of each specific category of items. So the one that sold the least were my stickers. I sold 4 stickers and they were my most inexpensive item, but I didn't have them priced up front, which I'm sure would have been a bit more helpful. People had to ask me how much it cost, but I just brought them kind of like last minute as a thing. It's these stickers in the back here that I designed myself, and my boyfriend's dad printed them out for me, which is really lovely, and they are waterproof stickers. So I sold them for $3 each, which is my most inexpensive item, and towards the end I just sold it for $2.50 because I was like, oh, whatever. And then the second thing that sold the least is Teddy Bakery yarn, because I had that tucked away and also it wasn't really the focus of my market, and probably was a much smaller niche of people that actually knew how to crochet or knit or wanted to use the yarn. So I sold 5 skeins of Teddy Bakery yarn, and then I sold 8 keychains. So the keychains actually did do pretty well. I sold out of basically all of my keychain designs except for one, which I will talk about later, of like the specific items that sold well and what didn't, but the keychains did do well because I think I only brought 10 keychains, so 8 of the 10 sold, and the 2 that didn't sell were like the only 2 of that specific type. So yeah, those were a hit, and I sold them for 18 Australian dollars each, and one of them was $15 because it was an older design and I only had one of it. And the keychains were also one of my more affordable items at $18, $15 to $18. And then lastly, I sold 53 plushies. So that is obviously the main event and what I had the most of, and of course what I expected to sell the most too. So 53 plushies is pretty good for the market. The market wasn't as busy as I expected it to be because it was raining and pouring, but it was still a pretty decent turnout, so I think I did pretty well. And something else to note about this market is that there was another crochet plushie amigurumi vendor that was selling like similar-ish items to me. Obviously, I make a lot of like really unique one-off items, so I was lucky in that regard that I don't think we overlapped too much, but she had a much bigger stall in like the center of the market, whereas I was tucked away on a smaller table in the back. So I'm sure that would have affected the way that my sales worked, because people would have been buying from this creator too and would have been probably seeing this much bigger setup more so than seeing my own, which is fine, of course. I hope she did really well too. The stuff was super cute, but that is something to note, that I'm sure we did overlap on some certain items, such as like axolotls and those like small little market items that most groovy crocheters make, so that could also be affecting the way that my items sold as well. So when I talked to you guys about the items that were really popular and the ones that were less popular, especially ones that I was surprised by being less popular, they could have been being sold at the other vendor as well, and people could have been buying it from that vendor instead. So that is something that to keep in mind as well for this analysis. Now I'm going to break down the amount of items I sold by price. So I have grouped them into 3 different price categories. We're going to do $20 and under, and this includes everything as well, like my yarn and the stickers and the keychains and everything, just all the items by price. So $20 and under, and then $21 to $50, and then anything above $50. So as expected, the items that I sold the most of were $20 and less, and that was 38 items. So if you account for the stickers, my Teddy Bakery yarn, and the keychains, they all fit under this category, and that was 17 total of them that make up that 38. So it's probably closer to like 20 items that were not in this category, but this is still the items that sold the most were in this $20 category, which is to be expected, and I made sure to have enough that would fall under this category just because, you know, it's something that's easier for people to buy, especially if it's an impulsive sort of purchase, which you do make at markets. $20 is definitely a great entry point and less. And then the items between $21 and $50 was 26. I sold 26 of those items between that price point. A lot of those plushies were, well, they were all plushies, and they were within like $25 to $35 range was probably the most prominent. So that did pretty well too, so no complaints there. And then of course, the items that were over $50, I sold a lot less of. I only sold 6 items, but that's still pretty good for me. And my most expensive item that I did sell was a 2-headed bunny plushie, and that sold for 90 Australian dollars. So that was the most expensive item that I sold. And then the least expensive, of course, are the stickers. Also, I know I'm going to be getting a lot of questions on how I price my items, because that is one of the most difficult things about being a crochet business. And to be honest with you guys, I don't really have a good answer for that. I literally price based on vibes. I did make sure to increase my pricing slightly from previous markets that I've done before, because I was really underpaying myself before, and now I think it's a little bit more appropriate. I think I could still go higher, but people likely just wouldn't buy it at that price point, especially when there is more competition now. So I try and like remember how long it took me to make a plushie. I try and make more smaller items because they take a lot less time than the bigger ones with more detail, and there really is like a maximum threshold that you reach where the pricing is reasonable to most market goers. So I try and make like smaller things like the axolotls and etc. that take like less than half an hour to make. But yeah, otherwise I just price solely based on vibes and what I feel like I want to sell it for. If I want to get rid of it, I will price it lower than what I should price intentionally, and if I don't mind waiting for the right buyer to come across and get the money's worth that I think it's worth for my work, then I will charge more appropriately for what I think it is actually worth. So now let's talk about my best sellers. This category is strictly going to be of plushies that I had more than one of, and that basically all of them sold at the market. A lot of the items that I have are one-offs, so you can't really call that a bestseller if it did sell. I can note sort of patterns in the items that were one-off that did sell, which I will do, but this one is for the items that I made multiple of. So first off, one of the items that sold really quickly were my prawn plushies. I had 3 of them there, and I priced them at $24, and they were all gone. It was the first item that sold at my market, and they were all gone really quickly. And something I noticed as well is people who were walking past would all point out the prawn plushies, and that was just something I think that's like really novelty, and especially around this time of the year, if you're Australian, prawn cocktail is very Christmassy, so you know, I think it's a very like Australian summery vibe, so really like suitable for this time of year. And the next plushie that I sold out of were my rats. I also made 3 of them, and they sold out pretty quickly too. I had them hiding a little bit in the corner of my stall at the start because I had no space, but then as stuff was clearing out, I was moving things around and bringing more items out, and as soon as the rats were placed in a more visible spot towards the front of my stall, they all sold super quick. And I think people were upset when they would like do a lap and come back and they were sold out. They were waiting for them, so the rats were something that was popular as well, which I did expect too, because both the prawns and the rats are popular on my Etsy because, again, they are more of like a novelty plushie that you won't see everybody making, and they're kind of like funny little animals, so like inside jokes with your friends and whatnot. So those were also really popular. This next one, of course, were the pink axolotls. I sold out of all of my pink axolotls. I made 6, I think, and they all sold out. They weren't as quick selling as previous before. I think I only had maybe like 3. I had 6 total, 3 pink, 3 blue for my last market, and they all sold out like before like 11 in the morning, or maybe like even before 10. So these ones sold a lot slower, but I'm pretty sure the other crochet vendor also was selling axolotls, so I think that makes sense. But regardless, the pink axolotls did all sell out, and they were super, super popular. And next on the list are my fruit turtles. I only brought 2 this time, but they did sell out pretty quickly. My strawberry and my watermelon fruit turtles. I did also have a jumbo strawberry turtle that did not sell, so it was just like the regular yarn, not the jumbo version, that sold pretty quickly. So they always sell out whenever I bring them to market, so I always make sure that I do have some. And now for the keychains, there were 2 keychains that I made multiples of, and they all sold, and they were all very popular. Like lots of people were picking them up and considering them, and this is another item where people would walk around and, you know, test their luck to see if it would still be there when they returned, and they would be sold out and people would be sad about it. So these were my frog and my chick keychains. So I had one that was a leggy frog, and then one that was like a yellow little chick, and I made them into keychains. I think I had 4 of the chicks and 3 of the frogs. I definitely wish that I made more of them because they were super cute, and of course they're at like a lower price point for most of the people there, so that one was another success. I will say though that the keychains do take the same amount of time to make as the plushies, but I feel like I have to price them less because they are keychains, so I feel like I didn't price them appropriately to the actual amount of effort that went into them, but still, like, I was just happy to sell the keychains, and I'm really happy that people like them as well. The next thing that did really well were my yellow bees. I think I made 5 of them, and they all sold out as well. They were one of the more popular ones earlier on, so I think they sold out relatively early as well, and I wasn't really expecting it because the things that I had on my store weren't going as quickly as the previous geek markets that I had, where I sold out of basically all of my stuff before midday, and the rest of the day I just had like a few random ones that people didn't really want, but all of like my bestseller stuff all went super quickly. So I was surprised that out of all of my smaller items, it was the bees that were the more popular one. So yeah, if for a normal market, if I am at my like normal busyness that I have felt at previous markets, I do expect them to sell out, but it was kind of surprising for this market in particular. But the bees were super cute and a pretty decent size for the price as well. I think they were $22, which is what I priced them at, and they were pretty chunky bees. I did have a blue bee though that didn't sell, and I've had this bee for a while, this little blue bee, so hopefully it can get sold one day, but it's still cute. I think the classic bee colors are definitely more popular. And lastly, for my bestsellers were the ducks. So I had 2 of my own duck pattern, the white one and the yellow one. They're the original ones that I keep up on my pattern wall, so I'm gonna have to make replacements, but those ones sold and they were quite popular. And then also the mini mallard ducks and the mini yellow like chicks that I made. I had maybe, I think I made like 4 of each, like 8 of those, and I think all of them sold because I was making more at the market as well, and they were quite popular. They're super cute. I really love that design as well. So the ducks did well. The only duck that I didn't sell was my duck with the froggy floaty, and that one was a bit more expensive and also tucked in the back a little bit more, so that is to be expected. But yeah, the ducks were super popular, and like the chicks, chicken, you know, bird vibes were popular. Actually, that's a good point. The birds in general were popular because I did have my jumbo goose that I put out like halfway through when I had a bit more room to, and then that one got sold as well. So I think birds in general are pretty popular. Also, honorable mention to the radishes, because I made 2 radishes that I had put out on the table and they sold pretty quickly, and I had a 3rd one that I was keeping because I wanted it for myself, but I brought it anyway just in case, and towards the end I decided to put it out, but it didn't sell. But the end of the market was really quiet anyway, so I would like to think that if I had put all 3 out, then they all would have gotten sold, but I am kind of glad that one of them didn't sell so I could keep it for myself again. And now I will talk about the one-offs and one of the patterns that I noticed in my one-offs. I noticed that a lot of one-of-a-kind plushies that I sold were bunny different types of bunny plushies that I made. And of course, this is to be expected because I think the animal that I had the most of that were like unique plushies were bunnies, because I just love crocheting bunnies. But they did sell pretty well, like the bunnies in general. So I think they always do well at markets because bunnies are just such a cute animal. Now lastly, I'm going to talk about items that didn't sell well, but I thought that they would. Naturally, I always think that all of my plushies will sell well, because otherwise why would I make them if I wasn't proud of my work? So these ones did take me by surprise, and some of them were especially surprising because they have sold well previously, but it was just this market in particular that they didn't do too well. The first item were my octopus plushies. I can show you guys these ones because they're still here to tell the tale. Obviously the bestsellers are all gone now. But yeah, my octopus plushies, I made so many of them as well because I thought they would sell, and maybe because I had so many, people weren't as urgent about it, whereas like ones that I had less of that were popular, I don't know, they just didn't sell. The ones with the bows did sell better than the ones without. I don't know if a single one of these ones without the bows got sold actually. Maybe one, but I had a couple sales of these little mushrooms with these octopus with the bows, and they, yeah, still didn't sell well overall. So that was surprising. They have sold better at previous markets, but I've never had this many of them. So maybe that was my error, because if I had made the same as I did at previous markets, which was only like one or two, that they would have sold, and I would have still thought that they would be popular, but they weren't popular. Again, the other vendor very likely would have had octopus plushies as well, because they are such like an amigurumi staple, so maybe that could have been the reason. Again, I don't really know. I didn't have the time to like fully, you know, figure all this stuff out. It's really not that deep at the end of the day, but yeah. The next thing that didn't sell well were my chunky mushroom plushies. This one was really surprising to me because it was a geek-themed market, and I feel like mushroom stuff tends to do well at these sort of things. And also my mushroom plushies are my #1 bestseller on Etsy. They used to go crazy when I used to do made-to-order on my Etsy. I used to get so many sales of my chunky mushroom plushies, and I have a couple up on my Etsy now, and I've already gotten a sale for it. So that was kind of surprising, and they were only $20. Same with the octopus, these guys were both $20, so they were also like my more affordable items. But yeah, it just didn't speak to people, so that was really surprising. I think that it could have also just been a fluke. The other market vendor could also have been selling them. Again, this could be the case with all of these things. But yeah, it was kind of surprising to me and a little bit unexpected, but that's fine because I can just go on my Etsy. The next item that didn't sell well were my blue axolotls. I still have a few of them left over. I think I only sold maybe like 2, just like a couple of them, which was surprising because the pink ones did really well, and also these guys did super, super well at my geek markets I went to last year, my most recent market aside from the one that I just did. So this one was surprising. That's why I made so many of the axolotls, because I knew they would be popular, but the blue ones were not popular. I know that the other market stall did have them, so maybe she was selling blue axolotls and maybe didn't have pink, and that's why my pink ones were popular. But yeah, that was kind of random. The next item that I made multiples of that none sold at all, I made 2 of them, but my pickle keychains, they did not sell well, and I was kind of shocked by this because I thought like people like pickles. I feel like I see so many like pickle related things on the internet, and I thought that a lot of people would find it funny. I find them really cute. But a lot of people didn't even know what they were. I guess maybe my pickle keychains weren't like pickle enough. People thought they were like a cactus. So maybe that's why people didn't really get it. And, you know, I guess relative to the frog keychains and the chick keychains, the pickles probably don't shine as bright as those other ones, and they're all the same price. But yeah, that was surprising to me as well. But that's okay. More pickle keychains for me, I guess. And that wraps up my market recap. I hope that this was useful for you guys. I hope you got some insight into what performs well at a market, what doesn't, and maybe circumstances that determine these sort of things, because they're not going to be the same at every market. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. As usual, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. It would really help out my channel. And if there's anything you would like to say or any questions that you have for me, please leave them in the comments below. I love to see what you guys have to say. And if you want to see more crochet related content, you can subscribe and join my little family. Love you guys. Bye.